Mark, thank you so much for your time. I thought what General Zaluzhny was saying about the fact that it's now a positional warfare of static fighting rather than an example of maneuvering your troops around different parts of the conflict. But it seems to be a warning because he says that kind of static situation at the moment is going to allow Russia to regroup. So what's he saying? Is he saying that we need to push even harder?
Absolutely. Yes, he outlined in his statement or in The Economist that Russia is ramping up production. Russia is receiving 1 million artillery shells from North Korea. And obviously, this is a problem. And what he's saying is basically that if Ukraine is not being supplied with right technology, the war will settle down in sort of like a semi-stable front line. And that will allow Russia to gather more ammunition, gather more tanks, more artillery, and then make another big push. So this is what he's saying. And he says, in order for this not to happen, Ukraine should be supplied with several types of components that will keep the front line active and hot so that the level of attrition for the Russian army does not allow Russians to gather and amass large amounts of armor and artillery. And he described very in detail what kind of equipment he wants. This is electronic warfare, this is demining, this is counter-battery radars, and of course drones.
Yeah, he says that artillery, rocket and missile fire makes up to 80% of all military activity, which is really quite surprising. Mark, what about this issue that Ukraine is facing in terms of the Russian tactics, which have been borne out in many different locations, most recently just a few days ago in Avdiivka, where the fighting may be diminishing a little bit. But the Ukrainians were saying literally what we're facing is hundreds, if not thousands, of Russian soldiers who are not properly trained, just being sent across the front line. They're being killed, and more are being sent, and more are being sent. And if it comes to sheer numbers, Russia can just keep going and going. Historically, it's been ready to lose millions of soldiers in any conflict.
Absolutely, yes. You're describing the situation absolutely right. This is exactly what we're facing right now. Just for your perspective, in a week and a half of fighting near Avdiivka, Russians have lost 250 tanks. Now, for your perspective, this equals to the annual production of the whole Russian military. And it is also equal to the number of tanks the German military has in its own capacity right at the moment. So this just gives you an idea what kind of levels of fighting the Ukrainian military faces every single day. And the question about the attrition, you need to understand that if Ukraine is supplied properly, with enough artillery shells, with enough rocket ammunition, the HIMARS, the ATACMS, if Ukraine will have the air power with F-16s, Ukraine will be able to sustain this amount of attrition for the Russian forces for the whole another year, which will equal to some equipment classes, such as tanks or IFVs, simply run out. Because yes, despite the fact that Russia has enormous stockpiles, they are not infinite. And if we're looking at the attrition rates of 250 tanks per, basically 2 weeks of fighting, then by the end of 2024, Russia will start to run out of some equipment classes, and they will not be able to sustain this level of fighting for longer.
Mark, really appreciate you helping understand the military aspect of what's happening. And obviously with Gaza, we've been covering that extensively. But look, please do come back to talk with us more on TRT World in the future. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.